The chamber was silent. For centuries, no voice, no footstep, no living breath had dared disturb it. At the center of the ancient hall stood a stone platform, carved with symbols so old that even the oldest alien races could not read them anymore. Upon that platform lay a woman. She did not move. She did not speak, yet she did not decay. Her skin was pale, her hair like silver threads, and her eyes were forever closed. But the strangest thing was not her body. It was the 3 swords. Each blade was buried deep in her chest. They did not kill her. They did not let her die. They glowed faintly, humming with power that no machine could explain. The swords were older than any empire, older than any memory. Some said they had fallen from the stars. Others believed they were the punishment of gods. No one knew the truth. Across the galaxy the legend spread. They called her the Silent Guardian. Thousands of aliens came. Kings, warriors, priests, and hunters all wanted the power of the swords. They believed that whoever pulled even one sword free would command endless strength, maybe even rule the stars. But no alien ever succeeded. The first who tried was burned alive. His hands turned to ash before he touched the hilt. Another warrior dared to pull, and the sword's light cut through his body as if he were nothing. Priests tried prayers, scientists tried machines. Entire armies surrounded the chamber. But every attempt ended the same way. Death, silence, and the woman still lying there, the sword still buried in her heart. Generations passed. Empires rose and fell. Still she remained untouched, unchanged, and waiting. The aliens began to fear her. Some built temples around her body, worshipping her as a goddess of death. Others called her a curse and ordered their people never to enter the chamber again. For many, the swords became nothing more than a story told to scare children. But in secret, whispers remained. One day someone will claim them. And that day came when a human walked into the chamber. He was not a king. He was not a priest. He was not even a soldier. He was only an explorer, a man who had traveled far from Earth, searching for forgotten places and hidden truths. His name was unknown to the aliens who watched him, but they saw him as foolish. Another victim, they whispered from the shadows. He will burn like the others. But the human did not fear. He stepped across the cracked stone floor, his boots echoing in the silence. The air was heavy, filled with the strange energy of the swords. His heart beat faster, but his eyes stayed fixed on the woman. She looked peaceful, as if asleep, yet powerful, as if guarding a secret. The aliens watching trembled. Some wanted to stop him, but none dared step closer to the swords. The human stood at the edge of the platform. He studied the glowing blades. Their hilts were strange, neither metal nor stone, but something older, something alive. He reached out his hand slowly. The chamber grew colder. The glow of the swords brightened. The humming became louder, shaking the walls. The aliens gasped. No one survives this long. One whispered. But the human's hand did not burn. His skin did not turn to ash. Instead, the sword vibrated beneath his fingers as if it recognized him. For the first time in centuries, the Silent Guardian's lips moved. She did not open her eyes, but a faint breath escaped her mouth. Her voice was soft, broken, yet clear enough to be heard. Finally, she whispered. The aliens stepped back in fear. The chamber trembled, dust falling from the ancient ceiling. The human tightened his grip on the sword. His arms shook, not from pain, but from the strange weight of destiny pressing down on him. The sword pulsed with light, calling him, begging him to pull. Would he survive where all others had failed? The chamber fell silent again, waiting for his choice. The aliens held their breath. The woman's body glowed faintly as if life was returning. The swords hummed louder, each note echoing like thunder through the stone walls. And then, the human pulled. The sword shifted just slightly for the first time in centuries. Gasps filled the chamber. The impossible was happening. The aliens could not believe it. The Silent Guardian's chest rose as if she were breathing again. Her fingers twitched, the first movement of life after endless centuries. The human's face was pale, sweat dripping down, but his eyes were steady. He knew this was not just a sword. This was a key, a secret locked away by the universe itself. The blade glowed so bright that the chamber filled with white light. Every alien turned their eyes away. When the light faded, the human still stood, his hand gripping the hilt, the sword now halfway out of her chest. The Silent Guardian opened her eyes. The part ends with her gaze meeting his, her voice stronger than before. You were the one I waited for. And then the chamber shook again. The sound of something ancient awakening. The chamber had not shaken like this in centuries. Dust rained down from the cracked ceiling as the human stood with the sword half pulled from the woman's chest. His breath was heavy, his hand trembling, but his eyes never left hers. Her gaze was sharp, glowing faintly with a silver light. Those eyes had been closed for ages, but now they were awake, alive, and watching him. The aliens who crowded the edges of the chamber fell into silence. Fear spread across their faces. "Impossible," one of them whispered. "No alien has ever done this. No creature has ever survived the sword's touch." But the human still stood, gripping the hilt firmly. The silent guardian's lips parted again. Her voice was soft, but her words carried through the entire hall. "You are not like them. The swords know you." The human did not answer. His heart pounded in his chest. He could feel the sword vibrating in his hand, calling to him, urging him to finish what he had begun. Yet something inside warned him. Pulling it fully might unleash something greater than he could imagine. The aliens watched closely. Some were terrified, others greedy. They had spent lifetimes trying to claim the swords. Now before their eyes, a human had succeeded where thousands had died. A tall alien priest stepped forward, his skin covered in golden markings. His voice trembled, but his words were bold. "Human, stop. That blade belongs to no one. You will bring doom upon us all." The human's eyes flicked toward him, then back to the woman. Her face showed no fear. Instead, she gave a faint, knowing smile. "The doom already came," she whispered. "Long ago. The swords kept me here, waiting for this moment. Waiting for you." The chamber grew colder. The glow of the other two swords, still buried in her chest, grew stronger. They hummed louder, as if answering her words. The alien stepped back again. None wanted to be near the blades. The human loosened his grip for a moment, unsure. His mind filled with questions. Why him? Why now? Why did the swords reject every alien but not him? The guardian seemed to read his doubt. "The blades were made to know you," she said. "Made for your kind long before the stars had names. That is why no alien can touch them. They are bound to humanity." Her words struck the aliens like a storm. Murmurs filled the hall. Made for humans? Bound to them? The thought was unbearable to the proud alien races who had ruled the stars for so long. The human stepped back from the platform, his hand releasing the sword slowly. The blade sank back into her chest with a faint hum, as if it had never been moved. The glow faded slightly, though her eyes remained open. Gasps spread through the chamber. Some aliens looked relieved. Others looked angry. "You see?" the priest shouted. "The human fears it. He is no savior. He is a danger." But before anyone could speak again, the guardian raised her hand. For the first time in centuries, she moved freely. Her arm trembled with weakness, yet power radiated from her touch. The air grew heavy, pressing down on everyone in the room. "Silence," she commanded. Her voice was soft, but it carried the weight of authority. The aliens froze. Even the priest fell silent. She turned her gaze back to the human. "You awakened me. You carry the strength of your people. But this place is not safe for you. They will kill you before they allow the swords to be yours." The human's jaw tightened. He could see the truth in her words. Around the edges of the chamber, alien warriors shifted uneasily. Their hands moved toward their weapons. Some looked at him with hatred, others with fear. He had disturbed their legend. He had broken their law. And worst of all, he had proven that the swords belonged to him, not them. The guardian sat up slowly on the stone platform. Her movements were stiff, but her presence was commanding. She looked at the gathered aliens and said, "The swords will never bow to you. No machine, no spell, no army will ever claim them. Only humanity can bear their weight." The aliens erupted in shouts. Some protested, others cursed. But none dared to step closer. The human stared at her, his thoughts racing. He had not come here for power. He had come chasing curiosity, chasing whispers of old legends. Yet now he stood at the center of a storm that could change the galaxy. The guardian's eyes softened as she looked at him again. "You must choose," she said. "Pull the blade and awaken the path, or walk away and let the galaxy remain blind." The chamber shook once more, louder than before. The symbols carved into the walls lit up with strange light, glowing with the same energy as the swords. The air was thick with power. The human clenched his fists. He could feel the weight of every eye on him. The aliens waited to see if he would claim the sword, or if he would die trying. And as he stepped closer to the platform once again, the guardian whispered a final warning. "Once the first sword is yours, the others will awaken too. And when they awaken, nothing will ever be the same." The chamber fell into silence. Every creature waited for his next move. The human stood before the platform once more. His hand hovered above the hilt of the first sword, the blade that had already trembled for him. Around the chamber, alien eyes burned with a mixture of fear, anger, and curiosity. None dared to come closer, yet none could look away. The silent guardian watched him with calm, glowing eyes. Her chest rose and fell for the first time in centuries, the sword still piercing her heart but no longer keeping her in complete silence. Her voice was soft, almost kind. "The blade knows you," she whispered. "It has waited long enough. Do not hesitate." The human hesitated anyway. His fingers curled and uncurled above the hilt. He had felt its power once already, alive, heavy, almost breathing. He remembered the burning light that had shaken the chamber when he touched it before. What if pulling it now destroyed him as it had destroyed so many others? One of the alien priests shouted from the shadows. "Do not trust her, human. That sword is a curse. It will rip your soul apart." Another alien hissed, voice sharp with jealousy. "If he pulls it free, he will bring ruin on us all. Kill him now." Blades and weapons lifted in the dark. Several aliens took a step forward. The guardian raised her hand. Even weakened, her presence froze them in place. Her voice cut through the air like a blade itself. "You cannot touch him," she said. "This moment belongs to humanity." The human swallowed hard. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, drawing in a deep breath. He had not come here for power. He had not come to be a legend. Yet the weight of destiny pressed down on him, telling him that if he walked away now, he would regret it forever. Slowly, he wrapped his hand around the hilt. The chamber shook again. The walls groaned as if they would collapse. The sword glowed so bright that the aliens shielded their eyes. The guardian gasped, her body arching as though the blade's removal tore at her very being. The human pulled. At first, nothing happened. The sword resisted, clinging to her chest as if bound by invisible chains. But then, with a deep hum that echoed like thunder, the blade loosened. Inch by inch it rose, glowing brighter with every heartbeat. The human's arm shook violently. His muscles strained, sweat pouring down his face. He felt the sword's power running through him, testing him, searching him. It was not just metal. It was alive. It was a question. "Are you worthy?" The guardian's voice broke through the roar of energy. "Do not let go. It is yours to claim." The human gritted his teeth. His vision blurred. He felt fire racing through his veins, but he held on. Slowly, the sword slid free, leaving her chest in a burst of light. The chamber exploded with energy. Every alien screamed, stumbling back as the walls shook violently. Some fell to their knees, clutching their heads as the sound of the sword's awakening roared through the air. The guardian cried out, her eyes glowing brighter, her body trembling as though life itself was being forced back into her. The human stumbled, but he did not fall. The sword was in his hands now, completely free. Its blade glowed with silver fire, humming like a heartbeat, pulsing in rhythm with his own. For the first time in centuries, the guardian sat upright. She placed a hand over the wound where the sword had been. The wound closed instantly, the skin sealing as if it had never been pierced. She breathed deeply, her voice stronger than before. "You have done what no alien could," she said. "The first sword belongs to you. The aliens could not accept it. Blasphemy." The priest screamed. "No human should hold such a weapon." Another shouted, "Kill him before he takes the others." Dozens of weapons lifted at once. The guardian rose to her feet, her body trembling but her power undeniable. She extended her hand and a wave of energy pushed the aliens back. Many slammed into the walls, groaning in pain. "You will not touch him," she commanded. The swords chose him. "Your time is over." The human stared at the blade in his hand, still glowing with strange fire. He could feel its energy coursing through him, making him stronger, sharper, faster. But he also felt its weight. Heavy, ancient, full of a responsibility he did not understand. He looked up at the guardian. "Why me?" he asked. His voice was low, almost broken. Her eyes softened. "Because humans are not like the others. The swords were forged for your kind. They have waited for you across the ages." The aliens hissed in fury, but none dared step closer now. The human's presence with the sword was terrifying, even to the bravest of them. The guardian stepped closer to him. Her voice dropped to a whisper only he could hear. "The first sword has awakened, but the other two still sleep. And when they wake, the galaxy will tremble." The human's heart pounded. He looked at the two remaining blades, still glowing faintly in her chest. Their light had grown stronger, their hum deeper. They pulsed as though sensing the first sword's freedom. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Everyone felt it, the beginning of something that could not be stopped. And then the Guardian's final words fell heavy in the silence. You are not ready, but the swords do not care. The war they bring will come whether you want it or not. The human tightened his grip on the glowing blade, knowing his life and the galaxy would never be the same again. The silence in the chamber was heavy after the sword was pulled free. Dust floated in the air, glowing faintly in the light of the blade the human now held. Every alien stared in shock, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. The impossible had happened. The first sword was his. The Guardian stood tall for the first time in centuries. Her body was weak, but her presence was powerful, her silver eyes shining with life. She touched the place on her chest where the sword had once rested. The wound was gone, replaced by smooth skin. It was as though the blade had never been there at all. The human looked at her, his hands shaking as he held the glowing weapon. "What now?" he asked, his voice low and uncertain. The Guardian's lips curved into a faint smile. "Now the waiting ends." Her words sent a chill through the chamber. The aliens around them muttered angrily. Some were filled with fear, others with fury. The golden-marked priest raised his staff, his voice sharp and bitter. "This is madness. The swords are weapons of destruction. If the human awakens them all, he will destroy us all." The Guardian turned her gaze toward him. Her voice was calm, but it carried strength. "It is not the human who will destroy you. It is your greed. Your kind has tried to claim what was never meant for you. And for that you have brought only death upon yourselves." The aliens shrank back, their courage faltering under her gaze. The human's hand tightened on the hilt of the sword. He could feel it humming in his palm, pulsing like a living thing. The longer he held it, the stronger he felt, but also the heavier the weight of its responsibility. The Guardian stepped closer to him. Her silver eyes softened. "This blade is only the beginning," she said. "The first sword is the sword of life. It awakens me, and it awakens the truth hidden for centuries. The other two, they are far more dangerous." He swallowed hard. "Then why not leave them where they are?" Her smile faded. "Because once one sword awakens, the others will not stay silent. Their power will rise, and others," she looked around at the aliens, "will come for them. You cannot walk away now. The galaxy will not let you." The chamber trembled again, a deep rumble that made stones fall from the ceiling. The other two swords in her chest glowed brighter, as if reacting to the freedom of their brother. Their hum grew louder, shaking the air, filling every heart with fear. The aliens panicked. Some turned and ran for the exits. Others screamed, shouting curses at the human. But none dared approach the platform. They had seen what the first sword had done. The Guardian raised her hands. A wave of energy swept through the chamber, calming the shaking walls. She looked at the human and spoke with urgency. "You must leave this place. The first sword has marked you. They will chase you, hunt you across every world. You must be ready." The human frowned. His voice was steady, but his heart raced. "Ready for what?" Her answer was simple and terrifying. "For war." The word echoed in the chamber like thunder. The priest stepped forward again, rage burning in his eyes. "No, we will not allow a human to bring war with these cursed weapons. Kill him now." Dozens of alien soldiers drew their weapons, their eyes full of hate. The Guardian's silver gaze hardened. She stepped in front of the human, her body still weak but her power burning brighter. She lifted her hand and a shield of light appeared around them. Blaster fire struck it, but the light held strong. The human's pulse raced. He gripped the sword tighter and without thinking he raised it. The blade flared with light, brighter than the alien weapons, brighter than the torches that lit the chamber. The soldiers stumbled back, shielding their eyes. The Guardian smiled faintly. "The sword will protect you. Trust it." For the first time, the human swung the blade. A wave of energy burst outward, throwing the nearest aliens across the chamber. They hit the walls with cries of pain. The others froze in fear. The priest's golden staff shook in his hands. His voice cracked. "No, this cannot be. The swords cannot belong to humans." But deep down, even he knew it was true. The Guardian lowered her shield. "We must go," she said firmly. "Before the others regroup, this place is no longer safe." The human hesitated, his eyes flicking to the two swords still glowing in her chest. "And those?" he asked. Her face grew serious. "They will awaken in time, but if they awaken in the wrong hands, everything will burn." The human felt a chill run through him. He glanced at the sword he now carried. It was powerful, yes, but it was also dangerous. He could feel its hunger, its desire to be used. As the two of them moved toward the exit, the remaining aliens pressed against the walls, too afraid to block their path. The human walked with the sword at his side, its silver glow lighting the way. The Guardian walked beside him, her steps unsteady but filled with purpose. Behind them, the chamber groaned and shook again. The two remaining swords pulsed with light, their glow chasing them as they left. The Guardian spoke one last time before they disappeared into the shadows. You have awakened the first blade. Now the galaxy itself will awaken too. Nothing will ever be the same again. The human glanced at her, his grip tight on the sword. He did not know what future awaited him, but one truth was clear. He had crossed a line that could never be undone. And somewhere deep inside, the other two swords were waiting. The escape from the ancient chamber had not gone unnoticed. Word traveled fast across the galaxy. A human had done the impossible. A human had pulled one of the three cursed swords from the silent Guardian's chest. The story spread like fire. In marketplaces, alien traders whispered of it in fear. In palaces, rulers debated in panic. In hidden temples, priests prayed that the prophecy was not true. And in the shadows, hunters sharpened their blades, preparing to claim the sword for themselves. The human, unaware of how quickly his legend was growing, traveled with the Guardian through the ruins that surrounded the chamber. The sword remained at his side, glowing softly. Its hum never stopped. It was alive, a constant reminder of the burden he carried. The Guardian walked slowly, her steps unsteady but her voice strong. The galaxy will not remain silent now. They will come for you. They will not forgive you for what you've done, he frowned. I didn't do this for power. I didn't come here to start a war. Her silver eyes studied him. War doesn't care what you want. The sword has chosen. That is enough. Meanwhile, far away, alien leaders gathered in secret councils. On the desert world of Kor, warlords shouted in anger. If the humans hold the swords, they will rule us all. One roared. On the icy throne world of Vena, a queen hissed to her generals. Send assassins. The human must die before he awakens the others. And in the deep void, hidden fleets stirred awake, ready to strike before the balance of power shifted forever. The rebellion had begun. Back in the ruins, the human and the Guardian paused to rest. He stared at the sword, its silver light reflecting in his eyes. Why me? He asked again, almost to himself. The Guardian sat across from him, her long silver hair falling around her face. Because humans are different. You do not bend as others do. You resist. That is why the swords were made for you. They were waiting for your kind. Her words filled him with unease. He was only an explorer, not a warrior, not a king. Yet now the fate of worlds pressed against his shoulders. That night as he slept, the sword whispered to him in dreams. He saw flashes of fire, battles across stars, fleets burning in the void. He saw himself standing with the three swords and alien empires bowing or breaking before him. He woke with sweat on his face, the hum of the blade louder than ever. The Guardian's voice came from the shadows. The sword shows you what may come, not what must. Before he could answer, a sound split the night. Footsteps, many of them. Alien warriors emerged from the ruins, their eyes glowing with greed and fear. Their weapons glimmered in the dark. At their front stood the golden-marked priest who had once cursed him inside the chamber. His voice rang with fury. You stole what was never yours, human. The swords are not for your kind. Hand it over or die. The human rose slowly, the sword in his hand. Its glow lit the night, casting long shadows across the ruins. His voice was steady, though his heart raced. If you believe it's yours, then come and take it. The priest snarled, raising his staff. Kill him! Dozens of warriors charged. The Guardian lifted her hand, but her strength was not fully returned. Her shield flickered and weakened under the storm of weapons. The human knew she could not protect them both. He tightened his grip and swung the sword. A wave of silver energy burst from the blade, throwing the first line of attackers to the ground. The others stumbled, but they did not stop. Rage and fear pushed them forward. The human fought clumsily at first, swinging wildly. But the sword guided him, almost alive in his hands. It moved with purpose, striking where it needed, defending when he faltered. He began to feel its rhythm, its strange heartbeat syncing with his own. The Guardian's voice carried over the chaos. "Do not fight the sword. Let it fight with you." He listened. Slowly, his movements grew sharper, cleaner, more controlled. Each strike sent enemies flying. Each defense shattered their weapons. The priest watched in horror as his soldiers fell one by one. At last, the human stood alone in the ruins, the sword glowing brighter than ever. The surviving aliens fled, their cries echoing into the night. The priest dropped to his knees, fear in his eyes. You are the one the prophecy spoke of. The swords will awaken and the stars will burn." The human pointed the glowing blade at him. "If the swords bring war, then I'll face it. But they will never belong to you." The priest crawled back into the shadows, his voice shaking. "Then the galaxy will rise against you, human. Every empire, every army, every fleet. They will not rest until you are destroyed." The Guardian stepped forward, placing a hand on the human's shoulder. Her eyes shone with calm certainty. "Let them come. The swords do not fear them, and neither should you." The human lowered his blade, his breath heavy. Around him, the ruins were littered with broken weapons and fallen enemies. He realized then what the Guardian had meant. He had no choice. The swords had marked him, and the galaxy would never allow him peace. Far above, in the cold void of space, fleets were already moving. Messages spread faster than light. "The human has the first sword. He must be stopped." The rebellion had begun, and the galaxy was ready to burn. The ruins were quiet again, but only for a short time. The human stood among broken weapons, his breath heavy, the first sword glowing faintly at his side. The Guardian watched him with calm eyes, but inside even she knew the peace would not last. "They will not stop," she said softly. "Every empire will send their strongest. They will not allow a human to carry the blade." The human wiped the sweat from his face. "Then let them come. I'll fight if I have to." Her gaze was steady, but her voice carried warning. "You will not fight for yourself. You will fight for the swords. And the swords? Fight for something greater." Far above, in orbit around the world, alien fleets gathered. Ships of every design, from massive battleships to sleek hunters, surrounded the skies. They were enemies to each other, but now they had a common goal: stop the human before he awakened the other swords. The Guardian and the human made their way back toward the chamber where the swords had slept for centuries. But this time they were not alone. Alien soldiers swarmed the ruins, pouring through the broken temples, their weapons ready. The human gripped the sword tightly. Its hum grew louder, as if it sensed the coming battle. The Guardian placed a hand on his arm. "The blade feels the others," she whispered. "It calls to them and they call back." The human glanced at her chest. The two remaining swords glowed brighter than before, their light pulsing in rhythm with the sword in his hand. Their hum was no longer soft, it was deep, shaking the stone walls around them. "They're waking up," he muttered. The first attack came quickly. Alien troops rushed into the chamber, firing beams of light and throwing explosive charges. The Guardian lifted her hand, creating a shield, but the force of the assault shook her to her knees. The human stepped forward. He raised the sword and silver fire burst from its edge. With a single swing, he sent a wave of energy crashing through the attackers. Walls cracked. Soldiers were thrown into the air, and weapons melted in their hands. But more came. Hundreds. The chamber filled with the sound of battle, screams mixing with the hum of the swords. The air grew thick with smoke and fire. The human fought with everything he had. At first he was clumsy again, but the sword guided him, pulling his arms where they needed to be, blocking every strike, countering every attack. His movements grew sharper, faster. He was no longer just an explorer with a weapon. He was becoming something else. The Guardian watched, her silver eyes wide. She whispered to herself, "The sword remembers how to fight." Still, the enemies did not stop. They climbed over broken stones, their numbers endless. For every soldier he cut down, 3 more took their place. The Guardian shouted, her voice carrying over the chaos. "They are not here only to kill you. They want the other swords. Do not let them touch them." The human turned. Through the smoke, he saw several aliens rushing toward the platform, where the 2 swords still pierced her chest. Their hands reached for the glowing hilts. "No!" he roared. He ran forward, swinging the blade in a wide arc. The silver energy blasted across the chamber, knocking the aliens away from the platform. But the swords reacted too. Their glow burst into blinding light, shaking the ground. The chamber cracked. Huge pieces of stone fell from the ceiling. The Guardian cried out as the swords pulsed inside her body, their power straining against their bonds. "They are waking," she gasped. "The battle is calling to them." The human gritted his teeth. He fought harder, pushing back wave after wave, but the noise grew unbearable. The hum of the three swords filled his skull, louder than the screams of the enemy, louder than the roar of weapons. It was as if the blades were speaking, urging him to claim them all. He staggered, his head spinning. The sword in his hand glowed brighter, pulling him toward the platform. His eyes flicked to the other blades. For a moment he saw them not as weapons, but as living things, breathing, waiting. The Guardian shouted at him, "Do not touch them, not yet. Their time has not come." But the aliens heard her too. Desperate, several warriors made one last charge. They leapt toward the platform, their claws reaching for the swords. The human's body moved before his mind. He raised the first sword high and drove it into the ground. A shockwave exploded outward. The force was so great that every alien in the chamber was thrown back. The walls shattered, light burst from the swords, and the ceiling tore apart, revealing the night sky above. The alien fleets waiting in orbit saw the explosion and panicked. Some ships fled, others prepared to fire. The Guardian shielded her face as the storm of power raged. The human stood at the center of it, the first sword glowing like a star in his hands. The other two swords screamed with light, their hum so loud it shook the planet itself. And then, silence, the dust settled. The aliens lay scattered, defeated or dead. The chamber was in ruins. The Guardian looked at him, her voice trembling. "You have awakened more than you know." The galaxy felt that strike. They will come with fire, with fleets, with armies, and the other swords will not wait much longer. The human lifted his head, his eyes glowing faintly with silver light. He did not feel like himself anymore. The sword's power was inside him now, filling him, changing him. Above, the fleets began to descend. The real war was only beginning. The battlefield was silent after the shockwave. Smoke curled from broken stones, and the air still trembled with the echo of the first sword's power. The human stood at the center of the ruined chamber, the glowing blade in his hand, its silver fire still pulsing with life. The Guardian stared at him with wide eyes. She had waited centuries for this moment, yet even she seemed unsure of what had been unleashed. Her voice was soft, almost reverent. "The first sword accepts you completely. You are bound now. Its power is yours, but so is its burden." The human's chest rose and fell as he caught his breath. His hands shook, not from weakness but from the energy still flowing through him. He could feel the blade inside his very heartbeat. It was no longer just a weapon in his hand. It was part of him. Above the ruins, the night sky burned with movement. Alien fleets descended, their ships blotting out the stars. Engines roared, weapons glowed, and the air filled with the thunder of war. The Guardian looked up, her silver eyes narrowing. "They are here. Every empire that fears the swords will strike at once. They will unite, if only for a moment, to destroy you." The human tightened his grip on the sword. "Then let them try." The Guardian shook her head. "This is not a battle you can win with one blade. The others, they are stirring." "Can you not feel them?" He could. The two remaining swords still pierced her chest, but their glow had changed. They no longer shone faintly. They blazed with light, their hum deeper than thunder, shaking the very ground beneath them. Each pulse seemed to call his name, drawing him closer. He took a step toward the platform, but the Guardian raised her hand. "Stop, you are not ready. If you awaken them now, they may destroy you." The human froze. The temptation was unbearable. The sword in his hand urged him forward, its light stretching toward the other blades. The hum was like a voice whispering, "Take us, unite us, complete us." But before he could decide, the sky cracked with fire. Beams of light from alien warships rained down on the ruins. Explosions tore the ground apart, shaking the chamber into rubble. The fleets had begun their attack. The Guardian's shield flared to life, protecting them from the first wave. But even she groaned under the weight of so many weapons. "We cannot stay here. If we do, they will bury us in fire." The human raised the first sword, swinging it toward the sky. A wave of silver energy shot upward, striking one of the massive ships. The vessel cracked in half, flames spilling into the night as it fell. The other fleets recoiled in shock but quickly reformed, aiming all their fire at the ruins. The Guardian shouted above the roar. "Do you see? They will sacrifice entire worlds to stop you. They fear what you are becoming." He turned to her, his jaw tight. "Then tell me the truth. Why me? Why humans? What do the swords want from us?" Her voice dropped, heavy with ancient sorrow. Long ago, before your kind walked the earth, there were others. They forged the swords not for themselves, but for those who would come after. For humans, the swords carry the memory of your lost ancestors. That is why no alien could touch them. That is why they waited for you. The human's chest tightened. He was not just carrying a weapon. He was carrying the legacy of an entire forgotten race. But there was no more time for answers. The ruins exploded as enemy troops stormed through the smoke. Hundreds of soldiers poured into the chamber, their weapons aimed at him, their eyes filled with rage. The Guardian's shield flickered. She was too weak to hold it for long. The human stepped forward, the first sword blazing with fire. If the swords chose me, he said, his voice steady, then I will fight for them. For humanity. The aliens roared and charged. The human met them head-on. His blade cut through their weapons, their armor, their fear. Each swing sent waves of energy across the battlefield, knocking down dozens at once. But still they came, endless in number, their hatred greater than their fear. The Guardian shouted above the chaos. If you fall here, the swords will fall too, and then nothing will stop them from burning every world. The human's eyes locked on the two swords still buried in her chest. They glowed brighter now, as if they could burst free at any moment. He felt their power calling, demanding to be claimed. The battle raged around him. The fleets fired from above. The ground shook with every blast. He stood at the center, torn between two choices: defend what he had, or reach for the other swords and risk everything. The Guardian's voice broke through the storm. Choose, human. The galaxy will not wait. The swords will not wait. Your destiny is here. The human's hand trembled. His heart pounded. He lifted the first sword, staring at the other two, and then, with the world falling apart around him, he stepped toward the platform. The screen of light grew blinding. The hum of the swords roared like a storm. The aliens froze, staring in awe and terror. The human's fingers reached for the hilt of the second sword, and the story ended in silence.